Okay, you guys, we are back with another video. In this video, guys, we're going to talk about Sean Diddy Combs' attorney sending 50 Cent a cease and desist on the eve of the release of his documentary about Sean Diddy Combs. Now, you guys remember that 50 has been working on a documentary about Sean Diddy Combs and the allegations that has been levied against him. As you can remember, we saw a slew of lawsuits being filed against Diddy. It was started by Cassie Ventura last year. And then after Cassie filed the lawsuit against Diddy settled within 24 hours. He said it was a lie. But then after he said it was a lie, we got the release of that infamous Intercontinental Hotel video that proved that Cassie was not lying, because in that video we saw Diddy putting hands and feet on Cassie. And then after that, Sean Diddy Combs' LA and Miami mansion was raided, then the indictment, then the trial and the lawsuits and all of that. But we also know that Mr. 50 told us that he was working on a documentary. Now, as you guys can remember, 50 was about to release the documentary the same time that Sean Diddy Combs' trial was about to start. And his attorney fought. They pushed back. They said that if 50 Cent releases the documentary, it's going to affect Diddy getting a fair trial. But no, guys. The trial is over. Diddy has been found guilty and his legal team is sending 50 a cease and desist. How do you send someone a cease and desist about an event that took place that gained worldwide attention? It was a legal event, as a matter of fact. No, make no mistakes. I'm not saying that they cannot send 50 a cease and desist, because they can. The thing is that, is the cease and desist valid in this case? In this case, absolutely not, because this event was covered by worldwide media outlet, and what it would do is to say that, Diddy and his legal team, they are trying to take away 50 Cent's legal right for, as it relates to sharing the story from his point of view. So everyone else got to tell the story about Diddy from their point of view, and 50 is entitled to the same right as well. Now, what Diddy team can do, they can go through the documentary and there's specific portions that they can ask the court to strike through, which means that they can actually ask the court to strike through portions of the documentary if it doesn't align with anything, or if it doesn't match or mirror anything that the prosecutors had against Diddy. They can do that. But they cannot stop him from releasing this documentary at this point, because he can actually tell the story. And once he's not using anything of Diddy's, or, telling the story from a different light or telling it in a different way, they cannot stop him. They can try, but they won't be successful. Now, let's get into this report, because you guys know, if there's a report somewhere, what do? We attach the report to our discussion. Because you know what's going to happen to these celebrities? These celebrities, their relevance is going to fade more and more, because guess what? The consciousness of the people, it is elevating. But I don't think it is elevating in Jamaica, because some of my fellow Jamaicans are just so weird at this point. But it happens in the United States as well. I'm just being silly, right? It happens in the US. Sometimes people are not, we're not all on one accord. And it's unfortunate, in some instances that we're not on one accord, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. Now they're saying that Sean Diddy Combs is steaming mad at Netflix and 50 Cent because he's going scorched earth on a new docuseries that's about to hit the streaming service. And you guys know everyone and their mama will be watching. In a statement, Judah Engelmeyer, a spokesperson for Diddy, tells TMZ Netflix's so-called documentary is a shameful hit piece and confirms that Netflix relied on stolen footage. But from who? They can borrow clips. They can borrow clips from media outlets, and especially if they get those clips approved by those media outlets, what do you call stealing? But let's continue, right? Because that's crazy. They're saying on stolen footage that was never authorized to release. How do you mean stolen footage? They're saying, as you know, 50 promoted the docuseries on Monday on Good Morning America. We're going to talk about that too, right? Before its Tuesday release on Netflix. And he previewed never-before-seen footage of Diddy recorded just prior to his September 2024 arrest. 50 also had a very different view on what Diddy's reaction would be to the series, saying the music mogul would think it was amazing and the best documentary I've seen in a long time, with the exception of some bits and pieces. 50 added that Diddy would ultimately see the truth. 50 is such a troll. He's such a troll. Now they're saying not so much. Engelmeyer said Netflix and its CEO, Ted Sarandos, are screwing him over by misappropriating footage Diddy been recording since he was 19 years old. Diddy's rep says the footage was meant for him to tell his own story in his own way. What's more, Engelmeyer claims Netflix is plainly desperate to sensationalize every minute of Mr. Combs' life without regard for truth in order to capitalize on a never-ending media frenzy. How they mean it is without regard for the truth? Do you know what is included in the documentary? Because you're stopping this documentary from being released. So is it that someone from the production team or Netflix violated a privacy agreement and gave this lawyer a copy of the documentary before it was aired? Because if you don't have a copy of the documentary, how are you saying that it's telling a lie? Where's the lie? What lie? Which part? Give us the timestamp, you know? That's what I'm talking about. Now they're saying the rep adds, if Netflix cared about the truth or Mr. Combs' legal rights, it would not be ripping private footage out of context. So Diddy has learned that 50 Cent has gotten his hands on private footage. Have we seen those private footage? Maybe, or maybe some. Someone is telling Diddy what is going on. And this is why when Judge Aaron Subramanian said that he can't let Diddy out on bail because he's a danger to his community, I believe this proves that no more than ever, right? Now they're saying, he would be ripping the private footage out of context, including conversation with his lawyers that were never intended for public viewing. How did 50 get his hands on those? How? Isn't that something? No, I see. They're saying no rights in that material were ever transferred to Netflix or any third party. But how do you know he has it? They're saying that 50 Cent's been known to troll Diddy on social media. True, and Diddy's Piss 50 is involved in the docuseries Sean Combs, The Reckoning. But how do they know that 50 Cent got his hand on a recording, on a recording of him talking to his lawyer. So, sorry about that, guys. So, they're saying that 50 Cent's been known to troll Diddy on social media, and Diddy is pissed 50 is involved in the docuseries Sean Combs' The Reckoning. Engelmeyer says it is equally staggering that Netflix handed creative control to Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. They handed him creative control because he's good at what he does. 50 Cent is an amazing producer. Amazing producer. He's that multifaceted kind of person. Anything that he puts his hands on, it's going to become successful. Now they're saying a long time anniversary. So they're saying, it is staggering that Netflix would give 50 Cent creative control. Because he's a long-time adversary with a personal vendetta who has spent too much time slandering Mr. Combs. It's not slander. Well, it is. To be honest, it is slander. Now they're saying bottom line for Diddy's camp, beyond the legal issues, this is a personal breach of trust. Mr. Combs has long respected Ted Sarandos and admired the legacy of Clarence Avant. For Netflix to give his life story to someone who has publicly attacked him for decades feels like an unnecessary and deeply personal affront. At minimum, he expected fairness from people he respected. Shot fired. So they're saying, these producers and these people in charge at Netflix, it is so disappointing to know that Combs has long respected Ted Sarandos and Clarence, and to see these people allowing 50 Cent to attack Diddy, and knowing that 50 Cent has been slandering Diddy for years, and now they're putting it in a documentary. They're saying, this is just like a slap in the face. It is deeply, it feels like a unnecessary and deeply personal affront. So they're saying it just feels like a personal attack, and Diddy has had respect for you. But Diddy is a businessman, and so too is Ted and Clarence. Business people, it's not personal, it's just money. Money is always their priority. And it's not just money within itself, it is also to ensure that they are seen. They're known to be, that platform, the only platform to bring the breaking and the biggest, baddest information during that Sean Diddy Combs saga. They want all of that accolades. They want all of that attention. They want all of that drama. And you best believe they're willing to take all the smoke that comes with it. So these people, they're not new to this. As a matter of fact, they're true to it. How many times did we see them getting hit with lawsuits in the past for similar events? Numerous times. Even the Menendez brother documentary, they were threatened with a lawsuit. Did they pull back the documentary? Absolutely not. This is how they get their kicks. That's it. It's the money and the just the praises that they get from these things. Do you know how TMZ will go above and beyond to come with a breaking story? Well, Netflix is the media of streaming service. Netflix is a media. They always come with it first out of all the streaming services or streaming platforms. But they're not going to be lucky. They're not going to be successful in this one. 50 Cent and his team, they will get to reveal the documentary. They may have to pay for some amount of damage if they decide to take it to court, but I don't think Diddy may want to challenge 50, because 50 has the money to go up against Diddy, and 50 has the influence and power to do it as well. But I want to hear from you guys. What's your take on the matter? And while you're at it, do all you need to support your girl. Peace.